Welcome back, everybody, to the Marketing Rules podcast. And it is my pleasure to welcome today Neil Mullarkey. Neil, where do I start? Comedian, actor, broadcaster, author, leadership coach, keynote speaker. I don't know. Have I missed anything? Contortionist? Have I missed anything that...
That's about the size of it. Yes. If you ask me to do any DIY, I can't do that. But the list of things you gave just about covers it. Yes.
Yeah, good stuff. Neil, for anybody who kind of isn't really kind of aware of you, if not, why not? But maybe you could give us a little bit about your kind of background and what you do today.
Well, I wanted to be a comedian. I thought I'd be a doctor, so I chose physics, chemistry, maths, A-levels. Then I got to be in the school play. Then I went to Cambridge University, was in the Footlights, which is where Monty Python and Hugh Laurie, Emma Thompson, Olivia Colman, Sacha Baron Cohen came from. And that was why Mike Myers came to Sheer Showers in the Footlights. So this is Austin Powers, Wayne's World. But in 1985, James, before you were born, he was just a guy who'd landed from Canada. And we started doing a double act. And then we formed the Comedy Store Players, the improv group, which I'm still part of every Sunday. We'll be having our 39th anniversary, October 1985 is when we started. And did that for a while. Mike went back to Canada, was able to get on the radio, telly, do commercials, get some acting roles, bit of writing. Mike got me over to Hollywood to help write a movie he was in called So I Married an Axe Murderer. And I got to a point where I thought, this is fine. But then I thought, what's next? What's over the horizon? And I decided, and I heard about people doing theatre arts training in the business world. And I thought improv is absolutely perfect for that because it's about listening, working together, different ideas, bringing voices together to creatively bring us new ideas, I suppose, and to help understand one another. Because actually, people may not know that improv is where the audience gives suggestions, but it started with a social worker in Chicago in the 1920s. And that skill of really listening is the thing that got me through the door and still does. But actually, nowadays, it's about leadership. Sometimes it's presentation skills. Sometimes it's the improv mindset, which is, how do we have a plan when everything's uncertain? So that's kind of how I got started. And in the business world, I still do the Comedy Store Players, but these things, I was doing much more showbiz, acting, writing, being commercials. But actually, I got to the point where in a commercial, you look at the script and think, this isn't very good. And then they look at you after 5 seconds, they go, no, he's not right because he's too tall, too white, too stupid. This work that I do now is really me. It's my personality. I love doing it. I love being involved with organizations, finding out what's going on underneath the bonnet. What's the problem? What's the issue? How can we do better? Actually, what's working well? And I work in the public sector, the private sector. And often at the end of a workshop, which could be half day or a day, somebody says, can I have some coaching on my own? So I went to Ashridge Business School to learn coaching. And they often say, I need a book to kind of get this all together. And now, since June 2023, I have a book, which kind of sums it all up, really. My journey through improv, and there are chapters on leadership, collaboration, creativity, meetings. And luckily, I did it after lockdown. So my question now always, this morning I was talking to a media agency, how much of this is going to be virtual? How much is real? Or face-to-face? It's no less real virtually, but it's kind of the stuff we do. How much is it? I'm sitting in my bedroom, or I'm sitting in a boardroom with 3 other people, or you're somewhere down the line. And there's plenty more we can do, borrowing from the world of improv, which is all about engagement, all about working with what's given you, bringing the audience in, bringing your fellow player in, that really can be applicable to that world.
So we are going to talk about all the kind of stuff you kind of go through in the book, but it's a good point you bring up around the difference between working virtually and working kind of face to face. And do you find there is a difference how you approach the work that you now do to someone who is working out of their bedroom and everything is pretty much done virtually, as opposed to someone who has to work in an office? I mean, there are some obvious kind of differences on how that works, but is there a difference in the kind of in the either coaching or the skills that someone might need for those two different scenarios?
Well, I'd say top level, no, because it's about listening and bringing the other person on board and not being too stuck to your agenda. But on a lower level, actually, that's harder, perhaps, on Teams or Zoom. But if you do it well, it can be better. For example, if you've got a team of meeting of 10 people, you say, what do you think of X? Should we do it? Votes out of 5, and you can get 10 answers straight away. And then tell me why. You say 3, 5, or 0. So this was, I found there's lots of neuroscience about virtual, actually, and this parallel processing where you can use chat is actually quite helpful. And actually, quite often, I can see your face better on a virtual screen than I can in a boardroom where you're hidden. So yes, we do look for cues, body language, face, eye contact, tone of voice, but they still exist virtually. So much of my work is with leaders, is how do you bring your team in? And it's easy, I think, for certain people to say, well, we just need to go back to what it was like when I was 20, 25. I learned by being in meetings. And the people who are coming up now are kind of, well, I quite like having myself at home Mondays and Fridays, and I can feed the cat and go shopping and have a walk at 3 o'clock rather than waiting till 7 o'clock. Nevertheless, there is a big question, which is the work I can do at home and get my head down, work on that proposal. Of course, great to do it away from the office. So what I then say to people is identify the sort of work that needs to be done at home, how to make your remote meetings or hybrid meetings more engaging, more fun, more inclusive. But also when you do bring people face to face, make it different, make it really important, or engage in a real way that you can't just do by turning on a screen. And the actual problems I'm getting with people now, the issues are, there's been an edict, you've got to be in the office 4 days a week. Well, we're quite comfortable with that person who's working in York for a London office. And they're so good, I don't want to lose them. So in my book, I kind of said, think less about the place, more the person. There are so many people who much prefer being in the environment of the office and some who don't. Nevertheless, going back to where I started this lengthy and boring answer is you can still include people virtually. You can still have fun.
Yeah.
You can still get them feeling part of the conversation. Turn cameras on so I can see your face. Make sure that bloke doesn't do all the talking. Make sure as a leader, you're the one bringing out the voices. Make sure you're having one-on-ones with people. And you can do those virtually or face-to-face.
And, it does this change with, different demographics. Obviously, if there's within a business, there's this kind of hierarchy of the leaders and the people who are kind of delivering the coal face, and there's obviously different age groups within a business as well. And is there different ways that these different kind of maybe age groups, often we're told we've got TikTok generation and Gen X, etc. There must be different ways and different issues that these different demographics must face when it comes to these kind of this way of communicating. And I'm thinking, where does this all have to be face to face? A lot of communication these days happens over, for instance, something like WhatsApp. Where it can be completely misstrued. But is there ways that we can kind of incorporate that and use those as take some of your influence into that, or does it all have to be? I've got to look you kind of in the eyes and see your reaction, or can it all be done? Can we do it with a WhatsApp as well? I think I know the answer, but yeah.
It's context dependent,
right?
Why not send me a document? If that's the nature of the discussion or the topic of the project, send me a document. If it's kind of going to be a nuance, you have different points of view, I need to see your face and hear your voice. But equally, we can do that as a Google Doc, or other suppliers are available, I believe. But kind of you can do it. My issue with WhatsApp and text is we don't get a rest anymore. Is you're constantly being able to be contacted. And one of my clients said, I was on a Teams meeting. I got a Teams call from the CEO. And I didn't know how to say no to the CEO without leaving the meeting. And also I didn't feel I could say no to the CEO. So the the worry here is we have multiple platforms, multiple access to information, but I'm never off. So you're absolutely right. WhatsApp tends to be shorthand, but can be misconstrued. But actually, we know if I send you a quick WhatsApp, it's kind of off desk. It's kind of between the two of us. It's a bit cheeky, which, of course, we need. Mm-hmm. We used to do that with a wink and go and let's go and have a cup of coffee or a cigarette.
Obviously, the obviously if you're in government, there's.
Well, I'm astonished because I, as a freelancer, am fairly careful with the emails I send, and I don't say, James is a bit of an arse.
Oh, it has been said. Don't worry.
Well, of course. Okay, fair enough. That's the one excuse. But I would say I'm astonished they put those things in WhatsApp because they must have thought somebody's going to look at this one day. And so I'm careful with what I put in emails. And there are times when I think I'll ring somebody up because I know I want to see how it lands before I say the next thing.
Yeah.
Whereas an email is all one way. You are a rotter. I need this. Why didn't you do that? Whereas if you start with, I'm a bit cheesed off with X. Oh, right. Sorry about that. Didn't realize I was having to deal with my puppy or whatever. Oh, right. In that case, I forgive you. So I think we are aware of that. But my sort of hitting back against that slightly is beware the many forms of communication. And we all know we've got a favorite one. I like email because I can have my thoughts and I can open them any time of the day or night. And I can send one and they'll be received when the other person wants to open it. I find text and WhatsApp intrusive, but I'm weird, I think, because everyone else is in WhatsApp groups, left, right, and center, and wants to send this information. But I do think, and I have heard this, as a real thing in organizations, is hey, I didn't sign up to be 24/7. But we all quite like the nuanced thing in a WhatsApp during a Teams meeting when James is droning on and on about this, that, or the other. So that's allowed, I think, but just be careful, as you say, if you're a government minister. Or also, when you send a WhatsApp, somebody can screenshot it and send it to James and saying, "Well, what's she saying about you?" No. Mm-hmm. So it's all good fun if it doesn't feel like you're overloaded. Yeah. And that's the advantage of being home is just turn off stuff. What do they call digital detox?
Yes.
If you've got a proposal, just spend all morning doing that, turning everything else off.
Yeah. And I promise we will get to some of the other stuff that I want to talk about. But just on the back of that, it comes. Where does the dreaded AI sit within in this context when it comes to new forms of communication and how we communicate, and who we're communicating with, whether they're real, they're not real. What's your kind of take on all of that?
Well, I think AI is basically a new abacus. It's a new tool. So I actually went to see a talk at the Royal Institution about the ethics of AI, and a brilliant person from the Turing Institute called Vari Aitken said, AI isn't intelligent. It should be called a large language model. Yeah. That's what it is. It collates all the stuff that's out there, and it's rather good for that. But don't use it in the wrong way, and the reason I'm talking to you is because I hosted the Reconnect festival in April for recruitment marketers, and there was somebody there who said that she wrote her marriage vows using ChatGPT. Brilliant, but she said it took her 4 hours because, of course, you still need the human input of what's the right prompt. Okay, that's not quite right. Bit more. In the same way that if you use a calculator, you need to understand a bit of maths. So I was listening actually to a recent podcast of yours, AI and recruitment. Mm-hmm. This is pertinent to me because my daughter's at university, so she's going to be entering the labour market soon. I'm thinking, what should she put on her LinkedIn? That's a good thing. What should she avoid? That's not so good, because do they just trawl through? And I sense that's one level. I sense there's more to it than that. But AI is just a new toy, and it will mean that certain jobs will change. But still, the thing that I offer you, the improv mindset, brings creativity and rapport, interpersonal skills. And as yet, I haven't found a robot that's able to really feel engaging.
Yeah.
There's some good ones, I would say, in customer service and some terrible ones. Sorry, I didn't understand your question. Well, I phrased it as many ways as I can. I've ticked the right box. And I said, please, can I talk to an assistant? I'm sorry, I didn't understand your question. Is it eggs? No. So it's a new toy. And that should be seen in the context of it's a clever device.
Yeah.
As yet, it won't replace the warmth we have between human beings and the creativity of human beings who go, oh, what about this? That's a bit left field. Because this computer we have in our bodies is really amazing.
And that is a perfect segue into the improv mindset, right? I see what you did there, you know.
I see what you did.
And so talk to us about that, right? Because these are the kind of this is really the basis of the book, and a lot of what you kind of talk around this kind of using those improvisational skills that come very naturally to you, but probably don't come very naturally to the rest of us, and how we can then use that for our own confidence, for building a better business, becoming a better kind of person within our business, becoming a better leader, all of that kind of cool stuff, right? That we all want to do, right? But haven't got a really clue how to go about it because we're all really just kind of struggling with this kind of thing. So talk to us about that. Talk to us about how the kind of the improv mindset.
Yes. So improv is something that I learned. I learned a process. It's a bunch of tools, and it's a mindset as well. The basic clue is listen. What I'm on stage with somebody, what's she saying? What's she giving me? She's thinking the same, listening, and we treat what the other person says as an offer. Oh, how can I build on that? And that is it, basically. Much of our lives we're going, oh, what's being said? That doesn't matter. I've got to have a good idea. I've got to have a good script. So just in the same way, an actor has a script, and if they don't learn the script, they look stupid. So when I'm teaching presentation skills, I say, know what you're going to say, make sure it lasts a decent down at the right time. But if you're doing a conversation, maybe the script isn't helpful. Maybe you need to step into a bit of uncertainty. What's being given me by the other person, be they a client, be a colleague. And listening is the sense of it. And listening isn't just sitting back with your ears open, nodding. It's actually stepping forward and saying, I'm going to build on what you've said. And yes, and is our mindset. We don't say yes and on the stage, but it's kind of one of our practice drills. Yes, I hear what you say, and I build on that. And frankly, you can say no because as a yes and, if you like. So it's kind of acknowledging the other person's point of view. It's acknowledging they have a right to feelings, to different perspectives, to not seeing it from your point of view. And so really that's the improv mindset. So improv is something you learn. And people say to me, well, what have we got, how have you prepared for this Sunday show? And I said, well, I spent 38 and a half years preparing. Because you learn it like a discipline, like a martial art. It's a bigger than any individual, and I'm still learning. And nobody that I know who's done an improv course, it might be 6 evenings over a period of months. It could be a weekend. They say it's helped me in so many areas of my life. People think it's about performance. Yes, it could help you feeling confident on the stage, but actually it's about feeling confident at a networking event. Feeling confident at the school gate, feeling confident with a new client, feeling confident going to your boss and saying, how about this? And also, as a leader, it's going, okay, I don't know all the answers, but my job as a leader sometimes is to go, what about you? Encouraging that yes and holding the space for people when something new has arrived. We haven't done this before. What do we do? Actually, I'm paid the most, but you guys might have better ideas. How do we hold that moment, if you like? So the improv mindset is really just based on acknowledging that there are things out there we didn't plan that are different from how we see the world, and how can we use them as positives rather than going, oh, damn, why didn't my script get the first, be seen, and why doesn't everything I expect turn out? Because of course it really does. And just the joy of going, oh, I'm curious. That was not what I would have said. And so the chapters, there's leadership, creativity, collaboration, meeting, serendipity. And of course, the ultimate thing I've come to find is that when people come and see us on a Sunday, comedystoreplayers.com, in London, they realize it's not just humor we're going for. We're going for something deeper. We're actually trying to create story. Every scene is a story where the treasure is found, the dragon's defeated, the prince and princess are together. There's the story of how we six as a team gel that night. There's the story of that bloke who said a weird suggestion, and then he comes up with something else. And we want to know about him. And then there's that woman over there who's just giggling uncontrollably. She's part of the story emerging that night. So story is something that I'm finding more and more relevant, and dare I say, in the world of data analytics and AI, story still is the human software. The sense of it started there, where's it going? Oh, that's what he did. She stepped in and did that. That sense of the protagonist, the sense of obstacles to overcome, the sense of jeopardy, the sense of closure. And so many times I'm asked to come in with, these are clever people. They've got a million bits of data, but they can't make sense of them.
Mm-hmm.
And our value add is going to be able to say to a client or a colleague, this stuff makes sense if you see it this way. And often that the lens is through story.
Yeah. That's fascinating. And I tell you what, that's really relevant because a lot of our listeners are within the marketing space. And we often talk about storytelling and maybe in a slightly different context to maybe how you're describing it, but it's like how we take clients or internal staff on that journey and how we make our marketing more effective. Storytelling is always one of the things that kind of comes up when it comes, but I don't think anyone does it particularly well, particularly naturally, or maybe even understands it necessarily, especially in the business world. Because I think that the term storytelling can be quite easily convoluted to think, well, you're telling a story. When it's not, no. You mentioned you're taking them on a journey, right? It is a beginning, a middle, and an end. It doesn't have to necessarily be a narrative, but it is a journey you're taking someone, whether that from a client who's kind of doesn't know about you at all the way through to coming on board and signing on the dotted line. What is that journey you kind of take someone on? And you do talk about that. You talk about this. You've mentioned the kind of this storytelling aspect and how that's becoming more and more important. So it'd be great to kind of just dig a bit deeper into that, because I think that's something that our audience would really, like to know more around how you could craft that. You know what I mean? That kind of sensibility.
Well, we all do actually tell stories in real life, but then we leave it at home, and people, as you say, it's quite an idea that's taken everyone by, oh yes, storytelling, and actually it's not quite clear what it means. Is it just better slides? Is it being more confident presenting? And I think it's something more profound than that. Let me give you an example. I was looking at a website today, and there was a guy who formed a company called ThinkinCircles, and he said in the first year it was tough, and I was applying for real jobs, for proper jobs, and then somebody said, no, you can keep doing it. And that's a story. Because if you just said, we are a great company, we can do anything you want, that's not a story.
That guy sounds like an absolute dick, if I'll be honest.
but don't you see, it's kind of because you've battled the dragon of self-doubt, I warmed you, I picked you, I understand you. And so many so-called corporate stories are, we were very good, we did the right thing, end of, profit, revenue, etc. Rather than, what was the dragon we overcame? What was the treasure we found? And basically, I did once do a thing at London Business School, the 12 steps of story about the shapeshifter, the mountain, and yada, yada. And I got terrible reviews. So I reduce it to 3 now, which is basically, and I talk about it in the book, it's a guy called Joel Garfinkel, which is a management consultancy. Just say, what was it before? And then what was it after? And then act 2 is what we did.
Yeah.
So there was some situation was less than perfect. We were losing money. We were spending too much. There were too many people doing it. And by the end, fewer people, or we were doing it quicker, or we managed to make some sort of profit out of it. And then in the middle, what did we actually do? Too many people spend too long in the middle. It's kind of, I want to have a picture of where we go. There's a guy called Andrew Stanton on it who does a TED talk about stories. He's from Pixar Pictures, who are geniuses at story. But basically he said, make me care. There's something at stake, something worth winning, or something that needs to be put right. Now, you can do that in any business. And the thing that I would suggest to your listeners is don't make it too complicated. But sometimes the story can be you, my team, us. Sometimes the story can be our client, which is the story of where you could go. Join us and we will take you on this journey. That's what it'll look like in the future. There's the story of how we got here, where you as the wise person will say, you got here because, and there's something that happened, something you did, how you reacted led you here. That was a good place or not a good place. And from that, we build a story of the future. So you've also got the story of the end user, the consumer, who knows nothing of what's going on under the bonnet. They just want to go get in their car and go to the right place.
Right.
You may have made a great engine. You may be a brilliant sat-nav engineer. You may have redesigned the map. You may have made a really comfy seat. If I don't overextend that metaphor, but you get the idea. Is that too often people tell stories and therefore feel inhibited. We were good. We did a thing in the end. One of my clients, management consultancy, he said, we ask people, describe what you do, and they say, we do spreadsheets. And I said, no, look, you're saving the world. You're helping individuals get better. You're helping us save money. You giving the financial system some robust qualities, which means I don't have to pay too much on my mortgage. You are helping this beautiful new remedy in pharmaceuticals to save lives or something like that, rather than getting too much in the weeds.
Mm-hmm.
So you're absolutely right. The journey, and it could be one sentence. It can be, it now takes me 5 seconds to download my bank details. That's a story. I don't need to know the back end. And one of the ones I heard you talk about was recruitment marketing. Now, marketing, this is what people forget, isn't just I want more clients. It's kind of who wants to come and work for us. And we may have a mission, we may have purpose, but that's basically a story, which is come work for us and you'll become something you want to be. Come work for us and be part of something worthwhile. Come work for us and you'll get respect. So it can be more profound or less profound, but it doesn't have to be once upon a time there was a princess and actually the princess turned out to be a KPI and we're getting full ROI, and the dragon was EBITDA or something like that. And it's kind of, it's just a sense of giving an image in my head, I suppose, of where I could go and why I've ended up where I am.
Neil, that's fantastic. Exactly what I think will kind of resonate with our listeners. Before I let you go, there's two things I want to quickly kind of discuss. One is tell us about the book, where we can get it, the name of it again. And I know we're going to include we'll include all the details in the show notes always, where people can read it. But just kind of, tell us a little bit more about it.
It's called In the Moment. So I have my cake and eat it, because I create theatre in the moment with the Comedy Store players on the improv stage. But I actually say sometimes a moment is 6 months, a year, as you decide what you're doing or that campaign unfolds or whatever. So the moment is all about movement actually as well. So sometimes you can be moving, but in the wrong direction. In the moment, are you listening? Is the broad skill of improv. In the moment, build your confidence, communication, and creativity at work. Mike Myers, my erstwhile comedy partner, says a creative masterclass for every moment. So you can read the book, look at the improv bits, look at the presenting bits, which is how do I get a better script. And I include lots of case studies, stories as I have today of people who've come along, told me stuff, shared their ideas, kept in touch. And so I've tried to make it really applicable. So it's shortlisted for a business book of the year in the business self-development section. It's aimed at you. You're 20, you're 40, you're 50, you're 79. And you think, I could actually find more opportunities. I could have more fun. I could be more successful, dare I say. I could work better with other people. And so it's a book which is available. You can buy on Amazon. You can buy via Kogan Page, who are the publisher. You can buy it via my website. There's a neilmullarkey.com/inthemoment.
Excellent. Obviously, we'll include all the details and all the links. So probably, and I'm going to be really boring because I know you get asked this kind of stuff all the time about Austin Powers, right? But we don't need to go into the most. But for just indulge me a little for the last kind of few minutes, and share with us maybe a story from the set or something that kind of, instead of this kind of, oh, I was in Austin Powers, we loved it, we loved you in that, but give us a little kind of insight on what it was like, kind of, doing those movies, and something from we might not necessarily kind of got to see on screen.
Well, I used to do a double act with Mike Myers. As I said, he was selling tickets for a show, as in he made me laugh. We started a double act called Mullarkey and Myers, and we kept in touch. Wayne's World, big hit. He said, come and do Sorry I Married an Ex-Murderer, not such a big hit. Then, kind of after Wayne's World 2, he wasn't sure what to do next. He wrote a script just for himself, really, sent it to me. And I said, you should be showing this to anyone. It's Austin Powers. It's hilarious. It's hilarious. And I said, you should have Liz Hurley playing Mrs. Kensington. She's hilarious. Four Weddings and a Funeral came out, and I used to play cricket in a cricket team with Hugh Grant, a comedian's cricket team. And then cut to, the film was released, and I was sitting next to Hugh Grant at the opening ceremony. He's utterly hilarious, which the world's really only fully understood, I think, since Paddington 2. So the scene I did, because Austin Powers, not a well-known character, unlike Wayne, who'd been on Saturday Night Live. So I went in for basically one afternoon to do my first scene about the Swedish maid enlarger. And the scene was with Liz Hurley. And we just spent all our time talking about who we played cricket with, basically, because she knew the people Hugh Grant knew. They'd been in a triple act called The Jockeys of Norfolk when Mike and I were struggling to get any gigs. And then Austin Powers 3, suddenly I'm in LA for 2 weeks. It's a huge, big budget thing. And I spend some of my time just waiting around because it was quite a complex scene where Mini-Me is, or Mike is on Mini-Me's shoulders. So basically, you never know where the opportunity is going to come from, because whenever I say to people I'm in Austin Powers and they say, oh, you're the guy from that scene, it's like I've said I'm, the head of the UN. It's a global smile you achieve just by saying that was my friend and I knew him when he was just a guy.
Neil, that is absolutely brilliant. Thank you very much. As I've said previously, we'll include all of your details in the show notes. So if anybody wants the book, I think we've got a discount code as well. So all that will be there. But for now, Neil Mullarkey, thank you very much.